Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the Harmonie Club Chef Series. I'm your host, Erika Katz. Thank you all so much for coming. Tonight, you're in for an extraordinary experience with a chef who has redefined American cuisine. His inventive dishes at the celebrated Union Pacific restaurant captivated New York's restaurant scene, earning him an impressive 3 stars from the New York Times. On his TV show, The Restaurant, he gave audiences an insider's view of the high-stakes world of the restaurant industry. Many of you may remember watching him cha-cha his way into our hearts on Dancing with the Stars. And then, of course, he was crowned by People magazine as the Sexiest Chef Alive. A James Beard Award winner, he's authored 15 cookbooks, achieving New York Times bestseller status. And if you're a Food Network fan, no doubt you've seen him cooking up a storm on Chopped, Guy's Grocery Games, Beat Bobby Flay, and Wildcard Kitchen. For those of you who were in the Hamptons this summer, you may have been lucky enough to taste his incredible food firsthand at his newest restaurant, Il Pellicano in Southampton, where he was in the kitchen every night, bringing his culinary mastery to every dish, and even popping out to greet his guests between courses. Renowned for his generosity and dedication to giving back, he actively supports causes like City Harvest and No Kid Hungry, using his culinary skills to make a meaningful difference. Please give a warm welcome to our special guest, Rocco DiSpirito.
Thank you, Erika. Thank you so much, everybody. I've met most of you already, and what a great group. What a pleasure it is to speak to you a little bit. If we didn't have a chance to sign a book, we will after. So don't worry about that. And thanks for the warm welcome already.
So tonight we're all going home with his wonderful cookbook, Everyday Delicious. But I want to get back to where this all started.
Sure. So when I talk to my therapist, that usually goes back to about second grade. Where do you want to start this journey? Should we start at high school? Should we?
Well, let's talk about your family and how they influenced
Sure,
your love of cooking.
So I grew up in a pretty typical Italian-American household, lots of food being cooked at home, to the point where we had chickens in a coop in the yard. That kind of Italian-American household. We made our own wine, we baked our own bread, we preserved our own vegetables and tomatoes and all of that silly stuff that turns out is a wonderful way to live life. I didn't know it at the time, of course. You know, with the ethnic self-loathing that affects most of us. It took me till about 35 to realize that was an amazing upbringing.
And so do you remember the first dish you ever made, maybe for your family?
I do, yeah. I remember, yeah. So my mom used to bake bread every other day. She'd bake this big loaf of bread, and she'd always pull it up against her and take a big knife and cut it like this. I always thought she was going to cut herself in half. It was an amazing loaf of bread that lasted a few days. So every other day she'd make new dough, and whenever she made new dough, she gave me the scraps, and she'd allow me to shape them in any shape I wanted, and then she'd fry them, and it's called pizza fritta. So it's fried dough, and then she'd put honey or, powdered sugar on it, and that's the first thing I ever cooked, fried dough.
And so then you went to the Culinary Institute.
Yeah, so I was about 5 then. I did a little high school in between, and then I went to the Culinary Institute of America. You guys might know it. It's upstate in Hyde Park. It's in Roosevelt land up in Hyde Park, and it's in this beautiful Jesuit seminary and right on the Hudson River, magical place. And I attended there from 84 to 86.
And then you went to Paris, right?
Well, first I went to Israel, then I went to the CIA, then I went to Paris. And I was there for about 2 years, and I worked at a bunch of fun places. I learned how to make the pomme puree from Joël Robuchon himself and Jamin in Paris back then. That was quite a treat. It was an extraordinary time. I did the typical, Kafka-esque starving artist thing where I slept in the basement of the restaurant and rode the subway all night sometimes for the craft, and it turned out to be some of the best 2 years of my life.
And then you went to Les Pinosse, right?
So when I came back, I went to a bunch of New York places, stayed for a little bit in some of the other places like Boulay and Le Bernardin, and ended up taking a full-time position at Les Pinosse. Who remembers Les Pinosse? Anybody? Wasn't that extraordinary? What a place! My
that was
God.
amazing.
I don't think there's been anything like it since.
So
Yeah.
then tell me about Union Pacific, because that was when you really opened your first restaurant.
Sure. Union Pacific was a little restaurant on 22nd Street. Who's been? Anybody? Anybody remember that one? Okay, 2 people. Good. All right. Yeah. We've got a few more years of living, and then there'll be nobody. But thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for being here. I appreciate that. Union Pacific was an accident. I'd already taken a job, and they'd already hired a chef. And a friend of a friend said, "Hey, you got to go meet these guys. They're opening up a very special place. We think it's going to be better than everything out there, and you belong there." And I made them a dish called Taylor Bay scallops with uni and mustard oil. And they loved the dish so much that they fired their chef. I resigned from the job that I had, and we worked together for about 10 years at Union Pacific. They went on to open a bunch of other restaurants, BLT Prime, Rain. Who remembers Rain, Main Street on the Upper West Side? They were those guys. They're terrific, and they're still running around running restaurants in New York City. But Union Pacific was a very special time, very special place at a very special time. This is 98 to 2006 New York. Food scene was on fire. People dying to cook everywhere. It wasn't like today where. So we had 10 applicants for every job. Now you have 10 jobs for every applicant. So it was a little different back then.
I want to read something to everybody. So he was at Union Pacific, and Ruth Reichel of the New York Times gives you 3 stars. And she says, "Mr. DiSpirito has an interesting mind. He seems to think about flavor in ways that ordinary people don't. I have yet to taste anything on Mr. DiSpirito's menu that is not wonderful." So now you get the newspaper. You're turning to the page. What is that moment like?
Well, it's a pretty good moment. Pretty good moment. It's the moment you've worked for most of your adult life. At that time, this is pre-Michelin, so the New York Times was it. They were the people that decided, that validated all the work that you did. It was a great night. We would go out when we knew we were being reviewed. We would go to the New York Times building at 2 in, look for the early papers. We'd wait out there all night till the papers came out. The minute they threw out a few bundles, we'd steal them and cut them open. You couldn't buy them from the street. They were just on the street out there waiting to be packed into trucks. This is generally accepted as okay, by the way, when you're waiting for a review. This is not real theft. I'm just kidding. And you would, open it to that page and stand outside with your partners and whoever you cared about, who cared about you, and you'd bring a bottle of champagne if you thought it was going to be good. And in a real New York moment, you'd stand outside on 43rd Street in Times Square with the New York Times sign above you, celebrating what arguably is one of the best moments of a person's life, at least for someone in our business. I imagine it's a lot like opening a Broadway show and getting a good review, or other similar things that, at the time when the New York Times was really the thought leader and delivered, all the recognition and awards one needed. Now we have the Michelin Guide, so the Michelin Guide has sort of taken over the role of giving out the stars.
So this is a big moment for you.
Huge moment, yeah.
You're creating masterpieces at Union Pacific.
Thank you.
And then People magazine names you.
You looked up all the embarrassing stuff, right?
Sexiest Chef Alive.
I don't know what they were thinking, honestly.
I'm just wondering, how did the people in your kitchen react to that? Did they tease you mercilessly?
I don't think anyone ever brought it up. You brought it up more times tonight than they did in 10 years of working there. I'm pretty sure they ignored it. It was so silly and meant so little that, it made my mom happy.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
It was worth it just for that.
So then, if running Union Pacific wasn't hard enough, you decided to get into the world of reality television. And this was before reality television was what it is today. And you had a show called The Restaurant. How did that come about?
You give me a lot of credit when you say I decided. I'm pretty sure I didn't know what reality television was at the time. Many of us, I don't think, knew just quite what it was. But it was definitely interesting being a pioneer of that type of TV. And to this day, I'm not sure I could tell you what was real and what was manufactured on that show, because I was part of the production, and as a piece of the production, we weren't privy to what was happening around us. So when the show came out, I was surprised by as many things as the viewers were. But it was certainly an interesting time and brought a lot of recognition to the industry, to me, to my family.
And your mom was on the show, right?
She was, yeah. She was arguably the star.
I think she was the star.
For sure.
So then your TV career continued with Dancing with the Stars. And I was really interested.
Keep it going, Erika. Keep it going. What else have you dug up? Okay. Dancing with the
So
Stars.
I wanted to know about Dancing with the Stars, but
do you have like my prom picture now? Is that?
well, I do have a picture of you wearing a pink ruffled
yes,
shirt.
the pink
so
ruffled shirt and the samba.
Maybe do you wear that still? Is it something?
Yes, yes.
That
I brought it. It's in the coat room. I don't think I could fit into it, first of all, and the detachable sleeves no longer work quite with my fashion sense the way it did back then on that show.
Well, I think you did a great job. And
Thank
how many?
you.
What?
Thank you very
6
much.
episodes?
6 episodes. Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
lot. That's a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank
Definitely
you.
deserves a round of applause.
Who are you clapping for that? You're a funny guy. You're the first Jeffrey, the first guy who got I guess removed from the show, always joked that he would be kicked out before the first commercial break, and that's what ended up happening to him. But I feel like I got kicked out during the second commercial break. But 5 episodes is pretty good. 5 out of 11
Yeah,
is not
it's
so
pretty
bad.
good.
Yeah. But you're a professional dancer. I think you said you were a trained dancer,
trained
ballet,
dancer.
classic,
Yes,
tap
yes.
jazz. Magda, is that correct? Did you make sure
Yes,
that
she
happened?
made sure that happened.
So you know how hard it is.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
So-
And to learn the routines by heart.
Yeah, so the routines apparently are just this huge algorithm, and you need to learn all the steps and the counting, and then of course you have to blend that with physical, feats of strength that are basically impossible, bending backwards, forwards, while wearing almost nothing and a spray tan. So it's a lot to manage. I'm very to this day amazed with the people on that show, and I think I told you earlier that I've done Ironman triathlons that I thought were easier than that show.
And that's not
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
That's not easy. So you were doing a lot of television, and it's interesting because you're very comfortable in front of the camera, or it seems to be.
Thank you for saying that.
Did you have to train for
I'm
that?
still not comfortable in front of the camera, but there is a training that you can undergo to learn how to become comfortable, and I did that. And to this day, my most comfortable place is home alone in bed. So the stuff we do on TV now is mostly cooking, so it's definitely my sweet spot. It's not dancing, thankfully, and so it's it's a little easier to be comfortable with the skill set that you're also comfortable with. And so much of TV now is cooking competitions. I feel like that's what I do for a living is get into a kitchen every night and hope for the best and try to finish the competition that starts at 5:30 every night.
So you're doing all this television, and then you decided to go back to the kitchen at the Standard Grill.
Yes, yeah. The Standard was 10th anniversary. They wanted to try a healthy twist.
It was
A
plant-based,
friend
right?
of a friend, sorry?
It was plant-based?
Yeah, we did plant-based, and we did a lot of really cool, healthy things there. A lot of very forward-thinking, maybe a little too progressive for 2017 or 18. And it was great. It was a wonderful time. It's a great property. Obviously, still there, still doing well. They've got the Boom Boom Room, don't forget, upstairs, and the beer garden, and so many wonderful things they worked out there. Andre Balazs is the genius
That's right.
behind that. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, you've been in the kitchen many years. Best kitchen disaster, and how did you
Well,
recover?
I've had so many. So
and how'd you recover?
yeah, so I had 2 fires on the restaurant. So those are pretty big disasters. A fire during a night of services, was pretty scary. When the fire suppression system activates.
Ooh.
For anyone who's ever seen that happen, it's quite a sight. It takes about a week to dig yourself out of that, and that's happened to me twice, I think, now. And so those are fun. So if you have a friend who's a chef, you don't like them very much, try to set off their fire suppression system, and they'll know how you feel. Yeah.
So I want to get back to the fact that you've written 15 cookbooks. That's a lot of
Thank you. Yeah,
cookbooks.
thanks. Yeah.
And now you have Everyday Delicious. What
Yeah.
was the inspiration behind
So-
this one? Because it's different from the other
Yeah,
ones.
so it's a huge departure. I'd written 9 health and wellness books. The book before this was The Keto Comfort Diet came out March 2020th. If anyone remembers that date, you'll know that a lot of things changed. And it came out March 12th, 2020. So, 4 days into my book tour, everything stopped. And then the second book was supposed to be another keto book. And keto is a great way to attack weight loss, by the way, if you're wondering. Very effective diet, very safe, especially the way I do it. And I think my publisher and I both thought, in light of everything that's happened, should we do something a little different? And I thought, let's just come up with a book with everyone's top 10 lists of favorite dishes and, go through all the cuisines and add them all up and come up with 100 of basically everyone's favorite foods. Foods that I love myself, that I cook all the time, make them really simple, simplify them to some degree. Like the pad thai that you guys had tonight, originally a dish with 18 or 19 ingredients, made, pared down to about 10 and about 30 minutes or less of work. I thought that fit the bill for right now. I felt like people just needed a little joy, a little comfort in their lives, and we didn't want to talk about a diet for a 10th book. Maybe the next one will be a diet book again, but
it is really 30 minutes or less because
a
I
lot
made
of them are much
2
less.
recipes
Yeah.
and I sent you the video.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
But they
and
really
the chef
are.
tonight tackled about 25 recipes, and I think he did an incredible job.
Which is amazing.
Round of applause for him. Are you here, chef? He made some of these dishes better than I make them. So the kofta, much better than when I make it, by the way. And so, to the point, try to make them easy and easy to be successful with and easy to execute, but still delicious. A lot of times we sacrifice the flavor for comfort, and I didn't want to do that in this book.
And so you've written this book, but if you don't want to cook, you also have a meal delivery service.
Yeah, so interesting story from my book, Pound a Day Diet. The premise of the book is so absurd, pound a day diet, right? How can you possibly lose a pound a day? So my publisher and their attorneys said, I think you're going to have to prove that this works before we publish a book with that title. They love the premise, and it's not, impossible to do. It's a little bit scientific and a little mathy. You need to create a calorie deficit of 3,500 a day, and easy enough in America where we consume on average 4,730 calories a day on average per person. So I put 12 people on the diet for a few weeks, and they all did extremely well, 100% effective, 100% success. We published the book, and those 12 people said, we're not stopping. We want to keep going on this. This is working so well because, I supplied the food and the guidance, and I customized the food for them so that if they like something, they'd get more of that, and if they didn't like something, they'd get less of that. And then it, little by little, through word of mouth, grew into a small little local business that is still around today, that I mostly hand make, but have a small team that helps.
What's the best thing on the menu, in your opinion?
I think the shakes are the best thing on the menu. They're sort of the cornerstone of the diet. The shakes are high protein, low carb, low sugar. But I do make low carb and low sugar pastas that people seem to really like. Some Asian food that people seem to really like, some noodle dishes. I make noodles out of protein like egg white so that you don't have to worry about the carbs. And for a lot of people, that's a hallelujah moment, because a lot of people here haven't had pasta in 10 years. So, having pasta again is a pretty big deal.
You've done so many cookbooks, TV shows, restaurants. What haven't you done? Is there something you really want to do that's...
Taking a 3-week vacation. I've never done that in my life. Or even 2 weeks, I don't think. It's time for that, I think. Yeah. It's interesting. The food world is so big now. There's so many opportunities that come to chefs for all kinds of lifestyle experiences, and I feel very fortunate to have been a chef during this time, where chefs are looked to for example and guidance and a little bit of thought leadership when it comes to flavor and taste, and even how to build a kitchen, design a kitchen, what cookware to buy, what china to buy, that kind of thing. So we're asked to do a lot of different things, and many of them are really fun. So I seem to say yes to a lot of them, and it's been a great career,
including Il Pellicano in Southampton.
Yeah. For those of you who've been, thank you. Hopefully, we'll open it up again next year, and we'll see you there again. Yeah. You, I think you get the frequent flyer miles.
I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I didn't feel like cooking, I was like, Rocco, I'm
Yeah.
coming.
Well, it was great having you there and everybody else who came, so thank you very much. It was a very special summer.
So let's talk cooking a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit of a spicy question for you. So I come from a Hungarian background, so I put paprika on everything.
Magda told me.
Yes.
Where's Magda? She's
here
amazing.
somewhere.
Where is Magda?
So my question, she's in the back. So my question for you is, if you only had 5 spices, which would they be that you use all the time?
Easy. Garlic, pepperoncino, basil, olive oil, salt, pepper.
What's your favorite olive oil?
Those are the best. Those are the best components for any dish. So I don't have a brand per se, but anything that's extra virgin, recent harvest, meaning November or later, because olive oil has a harvest date, believe it or not. One more thing to worry about, guys. Check the date on your olive oil. Go home and do it tonight. Oh my goodness, one more thing. But basically anything that's made in Italy or Spain, anywhere in that part of Europe, from fresh olives is going to be pretty delicious, as long as it's extra virgin and not the kind that they make for frying. Or so if you buy pure olive oil or pomace oil, typically that's used for frying. So extra virgin olive oil is pretty good stuff.
So if you're just starting your culinary journey, what are the 3 knives that everybody should have?
Oh, that's simple, guys. You need a big knife, a small knife, and a pair of tweezers or tongs, and you'll be able to do anything. But literally, it's a big knife, small knife, and a peeler. Big knife, small knife, and a peeler. If you want to spend a lot of money, go to Korin in Tribeca, the Japanese place. They have the best knives in the world. Korin, Korin. You can spend up to $2,000 or $3,000 on a custom knife. You can also spend $100 on a very good Japanese steel knife. But you need a chef knife that's about 8 inches, and you need a paring knife that's about 3 inches, and a peeler, and you should be able to do everything. My grandmother, who cooked the best food in the world, had a broken paring knife for about 70 years, and that's all she ever used for everything. She used it as a peeler, as a chopper, as a grater, everything.
Is anyone ever allowed to touch your knife?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't treat them as rarefied objects. The kitchen is about sharing, and it's about sharing and love and people, and so.
So if we're
just wait till after service that's the lesson. Don't do it while people are cooking, because things are tense when you're cooking. Yeah.
So when we're sautéing, non-stick or stainless steel?
Great question.
I never know.
I think you want to stay away from the non-stick if you can. The original non-stick is stainless steel. You just have to get it nice and hot, and cast iron are the 2 best cooking surfaces, whether we're talking about non-stick or not. They also happen to be great non-stick pans. If you have to do non-stick, and I know some of you are addicted to your non-stick, use a ceramic coated pan, so there's one more thing to worry about, PFAS, the PFA chemical. You want to try to keep that out of your life if you can. Yeah.
Is there a dessert that you cannot say no to?
An apple tart tatin?
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I know.
That's my favorite.
That's a good one. Apple tart tatin, chocolate mousse.
The best.
Easy way to make chocolate mousse is melt chocolate, whip cream soft, mix them together. FYI, if you ever want to make a quick melt chocolate. Oh, chef, you melt chocolate, mix it with lightly whipped cream, and then eat it at that moment. Yeah. If you want to skip 8 steps. Yeah. Dark. Come on. Yeah. The darker the better. More antioxidants, more of the health benefits.
So back to Everyday Delicious. If there's
Sure.
one recipe that we should all try, what is it?
It's the fettuccine alfredo. So fettuccine alfredo. So every recipe in the book, except for the reserve section, which has a holiday turkey extravaganza for Thanksgiving, some Christmas items, some other holidays. I call them Sunday afternoon cooking dishes. There's about 10 in there that are a little more than 30 minutes. But the fettuccine alfredo is the original Roman way, which was made for an American couple who were actors, and it's 3 ingredients. It takes 11 minutes. If you use fresh pasta, it takes 4 minutes to make this dish. It is one of the most delicious things you'll ever put in your mouth, and I urge everyone to try it. You boil fresh fettuccine if you have it. You take butter, put it on a platter. You take the cooked pasta, put it on top of the butter. You grate a ton of Parmesan, or much more than you think you need, and you just mix it together and eat it. It's so simple. It's the greatest dish ever invented.
And I was looking at the turkey because
Much more
obviously,
parm, by the way. It needs to be a mountain of parm.
of course.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at the turkey because obviously we have Thanksgiving coming, and I noticed that you cut the breast like sideways. Like
Yeah, a little bit on the angle.
On the
yeah,
angle.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the way to do it?
It helps. Sure, it helps if you. So there's strands of protein in any muscle that you cook and eat. And you want to try to slice across those protein strands, so you have the most tender result possible. And it works for turkey, works for chicken, certainly works for beef and other big cuts. So yeah, I cut it on a slight bias. I also spatchcock it in the book, which is where you remove the backbone and you break the sternum and you make it flat, basically. And this makes the air circulation around the turkey much more even. So what you do is you reduce dryness because you don't overcook the breast while waiting for the thigh to cook, and you save about 3 or 4 hours of cooking time. So try the spatchcock method. If you can't do it yourself, have a butcher do it. Call me, I'll do it. But it's a great method. Definitely a great method.
So I just want to talk a little bit about the restaurant industry. What are the trends you're seeing? I'm seeing a lot of omakase restaurants, which I love, and different things. What are you seeing that interests you, and where do you think we're going to see New York restaurants
Definitely
go?
seeing a lot of counters. Counters are a big thing, whether they're Japanese omakase or other types of counters, where you're looking at one chef and an assistant and 10 bar seats, and the chef is essentially cooking for everybody a la minute and serving them as well. It makes a lot of sense in terms of the financial model, and also it's very intimate, very fun, very exciting for the chef, and hopefully very exciting for the guest as well. That's a huge trend. We're also seeing fine dining become a lot more casual, and that's no question that's going to continue to evolve and change what we know as fine dining. Even in New York City, which was, for many, many years the epicenter of fine dining. Fine dining is casualized a lot. We like that, or we don't like that? What do you guys think? Yeah? No jackets, no shoes even. Yeah, I think a lot more family-style food in fine dining, a lot more share plates, menus that have what I think people would consider more casual dishes, not sort of as composed as they used to be. I'm a fan of the old way. I don't know if you figured that out already, but I like the composed, very, very high-end dining experience for when you need that. Sometimes you need that. It's a great antidote to everyday life. Sometimes you need to walk into a temple and just, enjoy the moment and be taken away from everything that's going on outside.
And what would you order on that fine dining menu of your dreams?
I would leave it up to the chef, of course. If you want to have a great experience, always leave it up to the chef. They are going to be so excited about cooking for you. If you tell the waiter, whoever it is, that I'm going to leave it up to the chef, which is what omakase means, the chef is going to be pretty, feeling pretty thrilled and grateful that you trust them. So they'll do a great job for you, and you'll usually get a much better value because they're going to pull out all the fancy stuff and all the secret ingredients they've been hiding, for a special occasion.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. A round of applause for Erika Katz, everybody. Thank you for putting this together. What a great idea.
I want to open this all up to questions from the audience. If anyone has any questions for Rocco. Brad?
Rocco, just what are your favorite couple of restaurants in the city, both for food and ambiance, and you can include yours.
Thank you so much. Torrisi for Italian food and ambiance, Torrisi. And if you can get in, please call me because I want to be your friend. And I still love Balthazar for a very specific experience. The 3-level seafood tower on a Sunday afternoon when you have money for champagne and for 3 or 4 hours to just chip away at that tower. Typically the tower has, 24 oysters and clams and shrimp and everything. It's got everything. That's a fun experience. And to this day, I don't think there's another restaurant that quite matches that execution level. My friend Danielle just opened Tête d'Or, which is looking like is going to be amazing. So that might end up on my favorite list. It's not far from here, actually. It's a few blocks away. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Park and 24th. Park and 24th, yeah. Flatiron.
Felice, you have a question?
Tete d'Or. Yes. Hi. Okay, so my new...
Fruit Loops?
So it used to be eggs. Did I say Felice or Phyllis?
Felice. No, I said Fruit Loops.
Oh, Fruit Loops.
Do you make Fruit Loops?
No, I haven't done Fruit Loops in a long time. Fruit Loops was my favorite. As a latchkey kid, in the 70s, Fruit Loops was definitely a great thing to come home to. Not anymore. So it used to be a can of beans, a can of chicken stock, and an egg to make like a black bean egg drop soup. It's eggs sometimes, but lately I've been trying this new risotto recipe that I learned from the Acquarello people in Italy, the family that makes this risotto, this special rice, Acquarella. It's aged 2 years. It's amazing. So does anyone here cook risotto? Anyone? Okay. Okay, that's a lot. Okay. Wow, you're all part of the crazy risotto bunch like me. I love it. Because, risotto, it's a labor of love. I mean, so now you can cook risotto by boiling rice 4-to-1 with water, 12 and a half minutes. Don't touch it. Yeah.
Don't touch it?
Chef, you're going to have to try this. You have to try this. It's extraordinary. I didn't believe it at first. I've been making risotto one way for 30 years. So 4-to-1, you have to use real arborio rice, 12 and a half minutes, 4-to-1, water to rice. Then you stir it. You add a bunch of olive oil and a bunch of Parmigiano Reggiano and saffron water if you want. And then you stir it, and it becomes creamy. It's perfect. Now, only because I learned this new recipe that takes so few minutes to cook, do I now make this at home frequently. Yeah. No, olive oil, Parmigiano Reggiano. Oh, you can add mushrooms if you want. Yeah, you can make it your own. But my go-to is this saffron Parmigiano, concoction.
You have
Yes.
a question? Oh, sorry.
About muted
I'm going to
experiences?
repeat
I
the
didn't
question.
hear the whole thing.
So
Yeah.
the question is, when you go to fine dining, how do you feel when the music is very loud rather than quiet?
It's really annoying. Yeah. I'm annoyed by it. That's how I feel. And I can't hear. Yeah. Oh, because they're trying to create a scene, They're trying to create a vibe. They're not confident that there's going to be enough people in their dining room to fill the room and create a It's happening everywhere. People are getting younger. It's a shame, and we're not. So we're more and more annoyed. I'm so
Jerry,
annoyed by it lately. I can't even.
Sherry, what's your question?
But there are sound systems that can be designed. Okay. You drive a hard bargain, miss. A turkey?
I'm gonna
yeah,
repeat the
it's
question.
the spatchcock. The spatchcock method is the best. You remove the backbone, you flatten the bird, and you cook it for an hour and a half instead of 6 hours, and it comes out dry and perfectly undercooked. Oh, salt and pepper is enough. You make a great gravy, make a delicious gravy with all the liquid at the bottom. I'll tell you, in a pinch, I use a jar of Heinz gravy to start my gravy. I use a jar of Heinz gravy because it's got all the thickening in it, and you just add all the juices from your bird. You'll have a beautiful gravy. Then you have to have stuffing and mashed potatoes, though. Stuffing and really good pomme puree. And I'm talking about the kind that Robuchon made with 30% butter. That kind, yeah. But the seasoning, people over-season their turkeys. You don't need to see. Turkey, to me, is a wonderful flavor. It tastes. It's a delicious poultry. Its natural flavor is amazing. So don't overcook it. Season it enough, but not too much. Brine it if you absolutely must, but it's not
We have a
necessary.
question over here. What's your question?
Bear is a great show, very close to very close to what's happening in the real kitchen. We don't yell hands all the time. We don't do that. I feel like one of Bob Fosse's people must have been a part of the consultant team because they're like, hands, hands, hands. We don't do that. We sometimes say service in that very annoying French accent. I love the French language. I'm not putting it down. I just think when you scream service and you're a white boy from Chicago, it's a little weird. But it's very close to home. Yeah, the intensity, the longing for that kind of excellence is very much what we go through. The chefs that you probably know about and have met, have read about, are all feeling that, that intense desire to make magic happen. Because we live for that. That's everything to us. Making the customer happy, feeling the love back. That's kind of why we live life. So, yeah, yes.
Wait, Jerry?
I know that's sad but true. It's sad but true. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Uh-huh. Yeah. It's a great question, and ironic that she just asked the same question. I know we couldn't hear. Yeah, I know. It's really annoying. It's really annoying, and it makes it very difficult.
That's why we eat here. That's why we eat here, because it's nice and quiet.
You have to search out the restaurants that are not relying on a soundtrack for the din. The restaurants that have enough people in their room to make the room. I fight with my general manager about volumes all the time. I fight with that guy Harper over there about volume all the time.
I think it's perfect at Il Pellicano.
Well,
it's
because
really
we fight
nice.
a lot about it. Yeah,
it's really nice.
Yeah.
Jill?
Okay, Henny. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would guide them as follows. I'd say it's probably the best time ever to be in the culinary field. There's more money being made, more stars being made, more success than I've ever seen. And I would say, learn how to cook and go right to content creation, and put those 10,000 hours into content creation and learning how to master that medium, because that's where all the ROI is. If you're thinking solely about how do I get the most bang for my buck, that's where to do it. Now, if you want to really enjoy it and live life like a real artist, you can cook for people too, real people, and whether that's at home or in a restaurant setting, is up to you. The restaurant setting is obviously the more difficult one. But, cooking for people at home is just as fun as cooking for them in restaurants. In the restaurant setting, it feels a little bit like a war, which is exciting for some people, so to have that challenge every day, to wake up and not know if you're going to make it till the end of the night, But I don't recommend that for most people.
But I mean, vis-a-vis, like, you look at the medical world, right? Going into the medical world, there's a change in our society. We're not necessarily sure that it's with all the restrictions on it. What do you think about cooking?
Would you become a chef today? If you were to do it
I
over
think
again?
I'm stuck with it. Stuck with me. I'm pretty sure that I would still be cooking. I'm not sure that I would only be cooking, but
What else would you do? What would you do if you weren't a chef?
I would definitely finish learning how to play guitar. I started at 11 and I never quite finished, because that feels just as fulfilling.
So rock star.
Making music, yeah. Having the fluency of an instrument, the full fretboard fluency feels like it would be a pretty amazing lifestyle, or a pretty amazing moment in life. If I could have the fluency I have in the kitchen with a guitar, I think I'd be pretty happy. But to your question, I think it's never been better. There was a time not too long ago where I would not be out here talking to you. I would be hidden in some dungeon somewhere. They would never even talk about the chef. You would never know who the chef was, and it's a great time for chefs now. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
And
Thank you, Erika.
everybody's going to get
You guys have been wonderful.
the cookbook, and I hope you make the recipes and post it to Instagram so we can all see your cooking. And please enjoy dinner. All the food, or most of the food, are actually recipes from the book.
Yeah, the
So
chef
thank
did.
you, Chef.
did about 25 recipes from the book for you guys tonight.